And before we get officially started, I would like to share with everyone the HR Statement of Antitrust and Compliance for all meetings and events. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it by now, but we need to cover our basics today. So please take a second to read this statement on the screen before we get started with today's webinar and today's guest speaker.
Good morning, everybody. All these happy people. Good morning, y'all.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to read the HR's Statement of Antitrust and Compliance for all meetings and events. Welcome to today's webinar. This is part of our Shifting for Success series. Today's webinar is New Forms Have Arrived. What's next? I know you might have a lot of questions, a lot of changes have happened since we first did this webinar back in August, and we are here to answer all these questions for you. But first, just a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, and we share a link to the recording once the session is over. Today's webinar, it's not for CE credit, so you don't have to be on camera, and we won't be able to hear you. However, we do utilize the chat to ask all the questions that you may have throughout the webinar. So if you have any questions, write them in the chat and we'll answer those as time permits, okay? Today's webinar is sponsored by Ciena, and Ciena will join us shortly before we start Q&A to let you know a little bit more about the developing happening in Ciena at the moment. So thank you, Ciena, for sponsoring all the Shape for Success webinar series this year. Again, today's webinar, it's not for CE credit, so you do not need to sign up, but thank you so much for being here. This is going to be a very informative webinar, and always watching live, it's a better experience for everyone because you get to ask all the questions that you may have. Now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Mishika Guillory. She is joining us here today. She is an expert on all things education when it comes to real estate. She is an instructor for not only HAR, for TR as well. So she's here today to help us, guide us through what's going on. The new forms have arrived. Mishika, what do you have going on now? You're muted.
Good morning, everyone. We've got everything going on right now. So thank you for being here. And I will tell you, if you put a question in the chat now, chances are it's going to be 55 comments way up in the chat. So you might want to hold back until it's time to ask those questions. There's a risk we might not see it. But with that said, the goal today is we want to just take you through some of the latest changes just to make sure you have a grasp on what's happening. That doesn't mean that this is final and we're not moving forward with another change later, but for now, this is where we are. So, Mary Angie, thank you so much for having me today and for Sienna having me as well and sponsoring. Let me go ahead and share it with everyone, my screen, so you can see what I see. And this is the class that normally we would be doing today. Now, we're not going to run you through the class. What we're going to do is show you some of the bigger changes that happened on August 23rd. That's about 2 weeks after use of the new forms became mandatory according to this pending settlement agreement. So let's go ahead and show you a couple of basic things. So the first is to notice what the forms are. And let me go ahead and give you this list. This list shows you either the black letters are going to be the forms that have existed that we changed. So if you never used it before, it might be new to you. It's just not new at all to anyone. We just need you to know that those have changed. Everything that's written below in red, well, those three forms were created as a result of this pending settlement agreement. So what we're going to do is kind of hit the highlights on some of the more important ones that you're likely to run into every single day. Couple of notes that I usually share in a class in case anyone needs this. Take a look at this. We know we're not going to get to every single question today. This is a very quick seminar or webinar, but we don't want to leave y'all hanging. So take a look. Right here, you'll see that there's an email address highlighted in yellow, and that goes to Texas Realtors attorneys directly. They're going to see everything that you're concerned about and don't understand or would like to see changed again. Trust me, they're seeing that because if they hadn't seen it, then they wouldn't have done this. Remember, our forms went into play on June 24th. They were mandatory by the 17th. Less than 2 weeks in, we had some changes, and that's thanks to you and all of your questions and your thoughts. Lastly, if you're in the middle of a transaction and you need help right now, you should be able to call the Texas Realtors legal hotline up until 4:30 every day. There are three attorneys from staff ready to answer your questions. It's a member benefit. That's where some of your dues are going. So let's go ahead and move forward, everyone. I need you all to catch a clue on this. This is the Texas Real Estate Commission's link to the proposed changes that TREC is now looking at. Now, the part of the year where we get to publicly comment on the changes that they're proposing, it's over. But still, you should be in the know. Go ahead and take a look at this, scan that QR code, or at least screenshot the link and see what they're proposing for the 1 to 4 family, what they're proposing for the third party financing addendum, all of those things you need to know about. And understand that TREC is thinking about making these changes, but they didn't have to. The issue that got us all here is a realtor issue. So we're really appreciative that TREC is kind of jumping in there saying, hey, let's work with you all through this. So a couple of other notes. Let's see. What else do I need to share with everyone? When you do take the class and you get the good 3-hour class, it goes like this. We're running you through all the listing agreements first. You have to see those first. No listing, no sale. Then the second hour, we go through all the buyer rep agreements, including the new short form. You can't talk about that until you know what's going on in the listing. And before it's over, we're running everybody through the compensation agreements. What do I do to find out what I could be getting paid, etc. So for now, let's go ahead and do it. We're going to the more important stuff. First form up, the 1101, that is your exclusive right to sell listing agreement. And the most important thing to catch is literally paragraph 5. Everything that's in paragraph 5 used to be down in paragraph 8. It was all moved up. It's a higher priority now. People need to see this as soon as they can. So there are 3 parts here. One, take a look. 1, 2, and 3. Let's do it together. The first part is a statement that lets all of your sellers know that we don't set anything. We don't set any commissions. We don't fix the prices. We don't even so much as suggest or hint what you should charge for commission. That is a complete negotiation between the broker and the seller. But then after you finish negotiating or thinking about what you want, you're going to get some directions to fill in either box 5A, box 5B, but not both. We've seen a few folks mistakenly do that. So let's take a look at a part of box 5A. This is the box that says your seller is going to pay you some commission, and they are giving you their consent to share your commission with the other broker that brings the buyer. So let's just say that you're bringing in, let's see, you managed to get 8%. Wouldn't that be great? You're getting 8%. Then what you'll do here is come down to 5A2 and you'll put in how much is going to be shared with the other agent. So there it is, 8% for you, but of the 8% you're getting from the seller, you're giving half of that to the other broker that brings your buyer. Now, something did change on the 23rd, and it's this thing right here in the middle. It's written, I promise you, in absolute English, but if you read it, sometimes it's a little weird sounding. It says, if the broker, the one that's got the listing, does not pay the other broker that procured the buyer, as we specified down here in 5A2, then the fee that you wrote up here in paragraph 5A1 is going to be reduced by whatever you didn't give the other broker. Now, I promise you that was written in absolute English. This is what it means. It means that there might be an occasion when the procuring cause of sale, the buyer's broker, isn't going to get paid everything you offered. You asked for 8, you were offering 4. But now let's take a look. Under what circumstance in the world would a buyer's broker not get all of that 4%? Here it is. It's because in the buyer's rep agreement, that agent only asked, let's just say, for 3%. That's the thing to catch. And if you do not alter your buyer's rep agreement to, oh, I can capture another percentage point in commission, if you do not alter your buyer's rep signed by your client, then you can't have that extra 4%. But this is the bigger clue for those who are listing. It does not mean you can automatically keep the 1% that the buyer's rep doesn't get. So if we look at it again, and I will erase all of that ink, everyone, it's saying that you asked for 8. You're offering 4. But it turns out that this person only requested in their buyer's representation agreement 3%. Well, then that does not mean you're automatically getting 5% up here. You're only still going to get 4% unless you have put something else in your listing agreement that will allow you to have that remaining percentage point. Otherwise, you literally only get what you asked for. And that's it. If anyone would like to get the narrative of what I just said in a step-by-step example, take a screenshot of this. I'm not going to walk you through it and read to you. Just go ahead and screenshot that. I'll give everybody just a moment. Awesome. Okay, so let's keep going. Now, 5A is not finished. We added 2 new clauses, and here they are, clause 3 and 4. 3 is kind of fun. If anyone out here has run into another agent and you've asked the question, how much commission are you offering on this listing? And you've heard the response, well, I can't tell you. The listing agreement is confidential. Just ask for what it is you intend to receive, and we'll let you know. Well, we're going to kind of put an end to that. Because that agreement is confidential, we've added this clause now that says the seller authorizes the broker to publicly disclose compensation for the other broker as you specified in paragraph 5A2. So the confidentiality argument, so to speak, don't need to lean on that anymore. You're okay. Please share what you're intending to share with others. And then there's this one. Now I'm going to do my best to keep it as easy as possible. We do a little more deep dive in class, but this is the paragraph that we knew was coming, and it addresses intermediary. So let me take you back to 5A. Let's erase all of this ink. And when you look at paragraph 5A, it says that the listing broker is going to ask for a certain percentage. And then we're going to share with the other broker a certain percentage. This is not a buyer's rep that is inside of the listing broker's office. This is a different broker. So what do we do when it turns out it is our agent in our office? So we've got the listing agent as well as the buyer's agent in the same office. This simply says whatever you were going to use to pay the other broker in paragraph 5A2, that's the money that would be used to pay your broker in-house. So no new special paragraphs need to be written to handle intermediary. This will take care of that for you. And again, screenshot it if you need this. I'm going to move on from it quickly. And then one more note. This is 5B. This is the one that says your client is going to pay you, but you may not share what I give you. Now, there are 2 ways this can go. Your client can say, I love you so much. I am still giving you, I'm looking in here, Elise Ripa, I'm giving you 8%. And you may not share this with anyone. Elise, you're just going to get the 8%. Fabulous. Great for you. And we're not even talking about other agents. It's just the listing broker. Chances are, however, that's probably not what it's going to look like. So let's assume it looks like this. I only have enough money to pay you. Let's just say this time it's Guillermo Garza. Guillermo, I only have enough to give you 4%. Okay, fine. Then that's all you're getting. But everyone, take a closer look. This is going to take care of the listing agent's money. If it turns out that the buyer's agent is in the same office with the same broker, there's nothing there that handles money to pay your colleague in your office. What that means is the buyer's agent in your office is going to have to go back to the buyer and say, you're going to need to pay my commission. Now, I want to jump everybody to the end right now. There is a workaround for this, and I do mean a legal workaround. It was added in paragraph E of the 2406. And I'm going to jump directly over there in just a moment and show you what that change is. But for now, I need everyone, please go ahead and scan that QR code or photograph the screen. This is a guide and an FAQ from Texas Realtors that's going to help you with paragraphs 5A and 5B, just in case something escaped you today. Take a moment. And I have to admit, I've heard the kitty is a little scary looking, so if you don't like cats, I'm so sorry for that. So sorry for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at Form 2406. We need to get there quickly because we're hearing lots of questions about this one. So 2406 is coming up right here. This is one of your 3 new contracts, and it is an addendum regarding the money that all of us are getting paid, either the seller's broker or the buyer's broker. This is the addendum regarding broker's fees. Here we go. It's a one-pager. It's really short. You read too fast, you just might miss it. So let's get to the heart of this one. Paragraph C is going to tell the title company that receives this document where the commission was written down and how much you're getting paid as the listing agent or broker. The seller is going to pay the listing broker the fee specified in a separate written representation agreement that was between the seller and the listing broker. What is that? It is literally the listing agreement. So this is telling title, by the way, there's a listing agreement. To see what everyone here is getting paid, go get that. Or, if you trust us, you don't have to, I suppose, but they're going to ask. So this is where they're going to find out the listing broker's fees. But let's hit the next one. This one's a bit more detailed. Take a look. Paragraph D is the other broker's fee. To make life simple, if you can, please note that that is the buyer's broker's fee. Buyer's broker's fee. So take a look. Here it's telling the title company the buyer's broker's fees will be paid as specified below. And what they mean is specified right here. Then it goes on to say that whatever is not paid to me, that based on what was in our separate written agreement, then the buyer is going to give me that remaining amount. So let me just give it to you really short and simple. In my buyer's representation agreement, I asked for 4%, but it turns out the listing agent is only giving 2%. This is saying that I'm going to get paid this 2% from the listing agent, and anything unpaid by them will be paid by my buyer. Before anyone gets concerned with the conversation with your broker, you could make the decision to relieve your buyer client of paying that 2%. That's a conversation in-house that you all should have. Maybe you say, just pay us a 0.5% and we're fine. Again, your call. But as it stands, that's what this means is anything I don't get from these parties below, the buyer client takes care of. Now let's talk about these parties paying you. This says that I'm going to get paid from the listing agent. And we negotiated, I don't know, some percentage point. Let's just say 4%. We went ahead and got ourselves 4. If you look at this really carefully, this is the shorthand version of telling the title company what everyone wrote in some separate written agreement. Okay, and there you go. This agreement is going to be the agreement between brokers. Friends, that's Form 2402. That is the form you will need to fill out to solidify an arrangement between the listing broker and the buyer's broker that you're getting paid. Calling someone up and asking how much are you paying doesn't solidify the arrangement to actually make payment. and neither does this form. So everyone take a look. I said I'm getting 4%, and that's based on what's in some other agreement between these two brokers, listing and buyer's broker. And if you'll catch what we added right here in blue, it says that what you wrote up there is informational only, and it does not change what was written in 2402. So, friends, this is not an agreement to do anything. This is just information. So please go fill out some written agreement. Doesn't have to be the 2402, but it has to be something. Fill out some agreement to get paid, whatever it is the two of you negotiated. Now, let's move on down to the next part of this one, friends. This is if the seller is going to pay the buyer's agent directly. This could happen with a FSBO, with a for sale by owner. That person does not have representation. I'm selling my own house. I've done this. I got it. Great. Well, they decide they want to go ahead and pay the buyer's broker because you were a great help. Wonderful. There's a form you could use for that if you don't have your own. And that form is referenced in this first checkbox. It's referenced right here. In case you didn't know, it is Form 2401, and it is the agreement between buyer's broker and seller. So, friends, let's look again. Let's say that seller decided to give you 3%. They really appreciated what you did. But that 3% is you just giving information. You see that right there? Information only. And what you're doing is telling title in a shorthanded way. That's what we agreed on in this here agreement. This is not going to change anything in there either. So let's just say that someone decided to put in here, you're going to pay me a whole whopping 5%. It doesn't matter, because if the title company says, please let me see your 2401, that's what they're going to go by. Catch it right here. What you wrote above does not change what's actually in the separate written compensation agreement. That same thing is true up here. You can write something else incorrectly by mistake. It won't change what you're going to receive. Now, I promised you that if you did a listing agreement and you checked box 5B, meaning your seller was only going to pay you and that's all you're getting, no extra. Well, let's go take a look at this one right here. This is what happens when an intermediary situation comes up. So in box 5B, the seller said, I really love you, Helen Mitroff. Hey, Helen. Helen, I really like you. And I'm only going to pay you 4%. That's all I have to give you. There's nothing for you to share with another broker. All right. But it turns out that Helen Mitroff's colleague in her same office brought the buyer. Well, unless somehow Helen gets more out of her client, the buyer's agent is going to have to ask the buyer for the money. And then they did this. This is one of the changes from August 23rd. This says that in addition to the fees the seller already agreed to pay the listing broker, in that listing agreement, the seller shall also pay the listing broker a little bit more. In other words, everyone, cameras out. In other words, this paragraph is simply saying, hey, listing client, could you pay our broker just a little more, please, so that we can take care of our in-house agent who did bring the buyer? That's something that you could ask. You should have a great relationship with your seller if you're going to ask that. But that is the paragraph that is going to help you ask for a little bit more. Talk to your broker before you do it. Make sure you have a great relationship with your seller before you do it, but that's what that's there for. And because we don't have all the time in the world, we do in class, but not here, everyone, if you can, cameras back out. Take a look at this. Photograph it, please. There's some language in paragraph E that I have to admit can be very tricky. So these are some things to keep in mind when you're going through paragraph E and reading it. I got one more screen for everyone to screenshot. Here it comes. One more. And then here we come with one last piece. Paragraph F is the one that is giving authorization, everyone, to the escrow agent. So we're telling title that you can pay the listing and other broker at closing in accordance with what was written on this addendum or what you see in these other separate, whoops, I just crossed it out, in these other separate representation agreements. This is giving someone else authorization to see those contracts. Now, you may not be able to ask people, let me see, but the good news here is we just authorized title to do that. So, friends, what we're asking you to consider in your office until we see what Trek is going to do is perhaps attach this form to every contract every time. Now, we are hearing that some title companies don't prefer the form. Let them guide you on that. But best practices from Texas Realtors attorneys are saying, please attach this each time to your contracts when you submit to title. Now, I know that was a lot. Here we go. QR code for a little help, everyone. If you need to see a guide and an FAQ on how to use this brand new page, this brand new form, this shall get you there. And I've got, believe it or not, one more QR code, one more code coming right up. And here you are. This is going to help you with the actual form itself. It's a whole a flow chart. It's a whole flow chart to get you how to use it. Now, I already see that Mr. Fan is asking, hey, what's up with the buyer side of the situation? So away we go. Let's go talk about our buyers really quickly. Let me skip over to, we're going to look at form 1507. We got to get there immediately. This is one of your new forms, everyone. And we need you to catch this clue very quickly. You're going to need to have your client sign a buyer's representation agreement before you go on a home tour, but only for cases of home purchases. If your client is going to lease a home, that's okay. You don't need it. I think you should have it. I think it's a matter of best practices to put everyone on a BRA. But if you want to know what it says, if someone is going out on a home tour with the goal of purchasing, you have got to have the short form or the long form filled out. That's it. If you don't, you may get a little warning that you missed a step, and if you don't correct it, $500 fine. Now back to our form, everyone. Let's take a look at how this thing works. It is a one-page form. When they said short, they meant short. And it's very simple. We're going to go ahead and name the two parties, ourselves and these buyers. You are absolutely representing them. You are absolutely their agent for the market area that you specify, wherever it is you're working with these people. And this term lasts as long as you want it to. Today, a month, that's on you. But that's the simple stuff. It's this part that's got a few folks thrown. Friends, this says that you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to take people out and we're going to go through full brokerage services with the goal of purchasing. Look at this right here. We're going to help you acquire the property you want in the market area. Full services. That's wonderful. But let's go ahead and catch this. Before we get to your second option right here, I want you to see what was written on this form. It says brokers must comply with minimum duties as required by law. If you don't remember what your minimum duties are, it is in your IABS at the top with 4 bullet points, and here they are. This is important because it's going to come up in about 60 seconds. Put your client's interests first. Inform the client of anything you know about the property. Answer any questions they have, present any offer or counteroffer, and treat everyone honestly and fairly. Now, let me take you back. Showing services. This may be the thing you're doing with someone. I'm just taking them on a home tour. I want you to be very clear. It says your only job here is to open the door. That's it. Please be aware of what you're getting yourself into. If you have a goal of getting to the closing with these people, then that box alone does not make that happen. You are being hired to open doors and grant access. And some people do it for a living, so we won't knock it at all. But we need you to also catch something. Let's go back. This says your minimum duty is to present any offer or counter offer. Well, now hold up. Didn't we just say all we were going to do is provide access? Well, let me just let you know when Texas Realtors attorneys trained us on these forms, this is what they were clear to share with us. You have an obligation to take any offer that someone hands you and hand it over to the intended party, either the seller or whomever it is you're giving it to. It did not say that you must present a CMA. It does not mean that you need to negotiate that contract. It doesn't even mean you offer an opinion of how that offer looked. You are literally taking that and handing it over. If someone wants your thoughts on what do you think about my offer, then that's your cue to say, hey, there's a box for that, and it's called full services. So, everyone, we want you to be very aware of what you're signing up for. Now, take a quick look at this. All this says is full services. I'm doing it all for you. But one of the things that this form does is it shortens your BRA. It's normally 5 pages long. This thing got shortened down to 1 page. And look, all it says is they have an obligation to work with you in that market area. 2, this is what I'm getting paid if we find a home. And 3, whether or not they will go into intermediary. That's it. That's all that's there. Can I take everyone back now? Because I need you to catch that this is not saying everything you need it to say. I'm going to take you to the long form, and then we're going to have to open up for questions. This is the traditional form, the one we've had all this time. Not a lot of changes to this at all. Texas was always compliant with our language. Our language was awesome. We moved a few things around, but let me just show you what the form does. Let's get straight to it. Paragraph 7 is where we moved your compensation conversation to. Used to be in paragraph 11. Hi, Tammy McCall and Puppy. Hey, lady. So, friends, we moved it up to 7. That way, all compensation information is on the same page. No one can say, well, I didn't turn the page. I didn't see that. It's all there. So, we're talking with our client about what we expect to get paid. And I want you to catch a small notation here. This paragraph is slightly different for this form. Let me show it to you up close. It's the paragraph that says that we don't fix or set or suggest commissions. And then they added this. Brokers and their agents are prohibited from receiving compensation for any of their services from any source that exceeds the amount that you wrote down in this here buyer's rep agreement. So wait a minute. That's not clear if you're using the short form. That language isn't there. So I'm going to go through this now, and then we're going to end up back on the short form. So I want everybody to catch something. This is going to apply to bonuses too. We go into greater depth in class, but we don't have the luxury of time. You're going to tell your client, I don't know, I expect to get 4% if you purchase a home, and I don't know, 100% of a month's lease if you lease something. Got it. This is the key paragraph. If you've never seen it, I'm sorry to hear that because it's always been there, everyone. It says, you will seek to obtain the payment of the fees we just wrote in paragraph 7A first from the seller, the landlord, or their agents. And if those people should either refuse or fail to pay you right here, the client will pay the broker. If you've not been reading that to your clients, I think maybe it'd be a great idea to start doing it. Catch this. Your client, the buyer or tenant, hired you. So you are the one to whom they owe compensation. It's just that we're going to ask the seller if they will cover it. After all, the seller's income or whatever they got off this sale came from the buyer. So we're asking them first. But again, if they say no, my payoff is too big, I don't have it to give, then it will be your client's responsibility to pay you. And this is why this says if it's not written in here, you cannot be paid that much. Now let's get you all the way to where we get to the bonus part. There's so much more to show everyone, but I need you to know that if you do need to receive a bonus, the long form that we just looked at will tell you go get Form 1505. You're now going to need your buyer client's consent to receive the bonus, or your tenant client's consent to receive the bonus. And so in Form 1505, let me just show you the paragraph for bonuses. I'm going to skip all the others and pray that I see you in class. It's right here. It's paragraph E. And it does say for Forms 1501 and 1507, long form, short form, that if you're going to be getting a bonus from the seller, the landlord, or anybody else, you need to tell exactly how much it's going to be, and you need to tell us what property it is attached to. That's where you're going to need to write down how much the bonus is. Now, it's not going to necessarily be in the actual BRA. That's because when you're signing the thing, nobody knows if you're going to land on a bonus. Let me show you something. In the buyer's rep agreement, and I do mean the long form, it has a clause in there that says that you're going to need to disclose the specific amount of any bonus offered to the broker. And the broker may not receive that bonus unless it is authorized in writing by the client. So, friends, it's telling you go get Form 1505. Once you discover you have a bonus, have your client sign it, and you can then receive it. Don't forget, all of this started with one simple clause that says, if it's not written in here, you cannot receive it. And Form 1505 is the one that will allow you to do it. Now, Mary Angie, let me check with you, friend, and see how we're doing on time. Is it Q&A time, or can I go through one more thing?
Let's go through one more thing, and then we do a little sponsor break, and then after that, we go into Q&A. How about that?
Awesome stuff. For all this conversation, everyone, we got to tell you how to get that commission, right? So, again, so much more is offered in class, but let me not leave you without that little piece. Let's go straight to 2402. These are all the slides we actually show in class. And Form 2402 is not new. Some of us old heads in the business, I've been doing this for about 24 years now, have called this form the ABB for short. Agreement between brokers. So this is the listing broker and the buyer's rep talking to each other about how the listing broker is going to pay that buyer's rep. So let me go ahead and ask you, screenshot this screen. We don't have the time to run you through it. This is just the one that tells you the MLS is no longer the place of safety where we secured how much you were getting paid. Hence, you will need this form to take care of that. Now, this one just shows you the form used to be 3 pages. We've removed lease language from it so that it's primarily about the sale. And now let's go ahead and take a look at some things you need to know. Let's get you into this question. This is the one that comes up often. Exactly when am I supposed to ask the listing agent, how much are you offering for commission? When am I supposed to get the commission agreement signed? Yesterday. Last month. As soon as you have a clue that your client is seriously interested in the property, the better. And you literally can call and ask, how much is commission? What are you offering for commission? And then you need to turn around and fill out this agreement between brokers and send that ASAP. But we have a couple of notes from Texas Realtors attorneys for you. If you did not get your agreement between brokers executed and signed by the listing agent, for some reason they just haven't done it, but now it turns out your client's ready to make an offer, that offer must get turned in. I'm quoting one of our attorneys. You may not hold that offer hostage until you get back your agreement between brokers. This is why we say the sooner you request it, the better off you are. Next, you may also not place this into their agreement. This offer is contingent upon you executing my agreement between brokers. So, the sooner you request the signature, the better. We also want to let those of you who are the listing agents, I'm going to take you straight to it, everyone. You may find yourself receiving several of these, as many as 5, 6, 8 of them per listing. And we want you to catch that. Technically, only one agent is going to get paid, even if you have executed multiple forms. It says that the commission is only earned and payable when certain things happen. So, really quickly, to all my listing friends, your fee, their fee, I should say, is going to be earned when the client enters into a binding agreement during the term to either buy or lease. Wonderful. Now, it becomes payable, however, see right here, it becomes payable if the cooperating broker is the procuring cause of sale or lease. And one more thing, when we have gone ahead and either executed a lease or we close. When those things happen, then that one agent who accomplished that goal is the one that gets paid. So I think we're asking you to not be afraid to be asked to sign multiple forms because you're really only paying out the one person. There is so much more to share. I wish we could do so much more, but I think it's time for questions and for our sponsor to speak.
Thank you so much, Mishika. And we are going to be answering those questions as soon as we are done with the sponsor break. So do not leave. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. This is a webinar and it's being recorded. And if you sign up for the webinar, that means I have your email and I'll be sure to send everyone that register a link to the recording. So don't think that we are not going to send it to you. I promise we'll do that as soon as it becomes available. But now I would like to introduce Tammy McCall with Sienna. Sienna has been sponsoring the Shifting for Success series since the beginning of the year. So Tammy, take it away.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm having so many problems with the internet. So I want to make sure before I start saying a whole bunch of stuff. Hey, everybody. I'm so glad to be here on behalf of Sienna. Sorry, Morgan couldn't be here. So good to always see that you guys are doing this every month. It's so much fun. So obviously, there's a lot of great information about Sienna here. You know, we have been in business now for 27 years. And Johnson Development's actually getting ready to hit 50 years next year. We'll be celebrating that. So we're super excited. But one of the biggest things that we're proud of is that our realtor sales are 90% and above. So thank you guys. I'd give you a hand, but I'm holding my phone because I couldn't get my computer to connect. So thank you guys for all that you do. I'm not going to read all of this because obviously you're able to read also, but there is, we are the largest and best-selling master plan community in Fort Bend County. And so if you guys haven't been out there, I hope that you will come out and give us a try. We have so many amenities. We just kind of actually, we just have the standard that Johnson Development has set. So you'll find all of these types of things in all of our Johnson Development communities. So that's just an overall of Sienna, but also I think, did she have a couple more slides? That's me, you guys, Tammy McCaw with Chance. And I had Chance up here earlier, but I had to put him down due to just trying to get through the computer issues. So I'm always here for you guys as Realtor Relations Extraordinaire. And my job is totally to work with realtors. And it's a full-time job. I handle everything south of I-10. And then my counterpart, Monica, handles everything north of I-10. So please make note of our communication information here. Connect with us on social media. Be sure that you're going to Realty University because that's where you're going to find so many amazing classes and things that we're always doing. And now we have a couple of events coming up in Sienna. I'm not sure if she sent you slides for that, but we do have a Diwali event coming up on November the 2nd, and it is a public event. Tickets are super inexpensive. So we hope that you guys will join us and be a part of our Diwali. We actually did a Bollywood class a couple of days ago, and it was so much fun. We had Mrs. Elite Texas Universe teach us some really fun Bollywood moves. So you guys come on out and join us for the Diwali event, November 2nd. And then the other event, which is the most important event of the whole year, and Mary Angie's coming, is my birthday party. So on December 13th, my birthday's actually on the 14th, but on December 13th, we will be having my 60th birthday, you guys. Can't believe it. Wow, 60th. I always thought that was so old, but I'm not old. Anyway, I would love to have you guys come out. It's going to be a really fun event from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. And we're going to have it's not about gifts for me. I just like the attention. So, all right, you guys, I think that's everything that I had for today. Thank you for allowing us to sponsor and thing that we're very passionate about, and we do.
Thank you so much, Tammy, and thank you so much to Sienna for sponsoring all the Shifting for Success series in the beginning of the year. We love working with Sienna because they not only care about doing business with realtors, but they also care about education. Education is a big portion of what they do. They like to educate their realtors, not only for themselves, but for their clients as well. So we truly appreciate their support. We're going to send you more information via email with the recording, so make sure to check that out. And again, thank you, Tammy, and thank you, Sienna, for being today's sponsor.
Thanks, Tammy and Chance.
And now it is our pleasure to start introducing the Q&A. I see a lot of questions here, Mishika.
I'm on them. I see them, friend. You ready? I'm just going to go from the top and then work my way down. I've already got some things queued up to kind of help illustrate responses to the questions. So everyone, what I saw was very high up at the top. Questions about the best way to approach somebody about commission and what they're paying for the commission. Well, be direct. You can ask people, how much commission are you offering on this transaction? That's it. What you cannot do, take a look at what's on the screen, is say, let me see your listing agreement for proof of what you're offering. That could be handled more effectively with the escrow company and Form 2406. They will have the right to see those things. So you call, you just ask, are you offering commission? They say, yes, we are. How much? Now you know. And that's all. And we'd like to tell you this, for anybody that's doing commercial, commercial does this. We've been doing this for decades. We just call, you offering commission, that's it. So we will eventually get used to it and be just fine. Likewise, listing agents, you also may not expect a buyer's rep to turn around and give you a copy of what they requested in the BRA either. Just thought we'd say that, everyone. So let's keep moving and flowing. Okay, this recording, are we sending the recording to people?
Yes, we are. We are recording today's webinar, and you will receive a copy of the recording as soon as it's available. If you register for this webinar, that means I have your email, so I'll send that to you.
Awesome. Okay, so when signing the BRA form with clients, do you update them somewhere to prove that you have it signed prior to your first showing, or you simply keep it in your own records? I think you're going to need to keep it in your own records. I have not been given any word that we're going to be needing to upload any of these documents, but I think the word is caution here. You never know who may say, well, you know what? I was not asked for one. So make sure that you just keep your records either in the cloud or on paper, whatever it is you do, and that should protect you. Keep your paperwork. Next question, scrolling down, is there a form that we can keep the difference on compensation? Okay, I think I know what you're trying to ask. If you need to change what you asked for in compensation from either the buyer or the seller, there are amendments for that. Let's go look at the screen really quickly. The 1404 is the form that you're going to use to amend what you asked for in your listing. The 1505 is the form you will use to amend what you asked for in the buyer's rep. So if you find out more is being offered than you asked for, you can change that there. That's it. All right. I'm still seeing the recording requests. Let's keep going. Do you send the Form 2402? Yes, you could. You absolutely could send the 2402 before sending the buyer's offer. We covered that. We definitely recommend it. Somebody said, wow, I took the class before the changes. Glad to see some of them. Dean, absolutely. We knew these changes were wanted by all of you. Like we said, we're watching that email. So thanks for sending those change requests. Hey, I don't know who this person is, but I love you. Someone said they just enjoyed the teaching style. So is it Shawan? Thank you. And that was Deanna Parnell. Thanks, Deanna. Still going. A little love to Mary Angie. I have a few instances. Here we go. Ardita Yaha. I have had a few instances where, when I ask if the seller is paying compensation, the listing agent is saying, well, it just depends on the offer you're sending. This doesn't sound right, but what do you think? Well, I think that people should learn to be clear. I understand that commission might be dependent upon the offer. But if that was true, to me, it would make sense if in your listing agreement, per your seller's direction, they tell you if the offer is at asking or above, this is commission. If it's within this much lower than asking, then this is what I'm paying. It would be nicer if people gave you a more specific set of information to work with so that you don't have people out there feeling suspicious like you are about those words. We have heard this quite a bit. Again, I would encourage listing agents, get your client to be more specific with you. Don't make that up for them though. Let's keep going, still going. Oh, I thank you so much, Mr. Fan. Sponsoring. Oh, they said thank you for that. If the seller doesn't want you to disclose that he's offering the commission, but I don't think that's the case. It just seems that it's a negotiation game that listing agents are doing. It could be. But don't forget, our 2406 does give this neutral party, the escrow agent, the right to see what's on the forms. So one, know your worth and ask for what you're worth. Everyone else who is on the listing side, get clear about what you're offering and be finished with it. All of the back and forth and let me see, that doesn't make for a great transaction for anybody. So ask your clients, listing agents, for more specific detail. Mr. Fan says, how do you respond to listing agents when they say, again, it depends on the offer, same thing, we've done that. Can 2406, oh Lord, Guillermo, somebody would have to have asked that question. All right, Guillermo, I've already asked this question of Texas Realtors attorneys, and the response was that we can't tell you how to put your offer together. We can't guide you on that. That is something between you and your clients. So you're going to have to ask yourself and perhaps your office attorneys, am I allowed to put a contract like the 2402, because I'm looking at 06, but I'm thinking 2402, like the agreement between brokers. Am I allowed to attach that to a contract between a buyer and a seller? I can't give you a concrete answer. 2406, however, to specifically answer that question, yes, put it in paragraph 22 where all your addenda are attached. But if your goal was to put 2406 in there to somehow say, hey, that's all I need to solidify what I'm getting paid, that's not going to be enough. Fill out an actual commission agreement. I hope that helps you out, Mr. Garza. Again, 2406 can be a part of the contract. 2401 and 2402, that's a decision you all are going to make. Am I adding my commission agreements to the contracts? What's an appropriate showing fee? William Furlong, I like this part of the class. Let's go ahead and do it for you real quick. That is going to be up to you because you need to know what your time is worth, friend. Let me go ahead and get that up on the screen. 1507 falls about right here. We're talking about your fee. Well, let's do it this way. Let's say you're going to Sienna to show some new construction. If you do a lot of new construction, chances are you have had a nail or a screw in one of your tires. Well, how about you maybe charge enough to replace that tire should it happen to you? Maybe you decide to do a fee based on distance. If the furthest two properties are within 5 miles, this is the fee. 5 to 10 miles, this is the fee. And if you've got me running from Katy to Deer Park, the fee is higher. There's one word of warning to everybody, my friends. If you are going to charge a fee, make sure your fees are written down on a list. They must be on a menu. Here's why. People need to know that there is a variation of fees because one of your clients can be friends with another. And this one can say, well, she only charged me 200. Why did she only charge you 100? Well, these two people didn't realize one of you was running between 20 miles and the other one was only running between 5 miles. If you want to avoid anyone accusing you of favoritism or discrimination, make sure the prices that you charge are written down so everyone gets the same consistent information every time. That was an awesome question, Mr. Furlong. Let's see, Showing Smart could ask you for it if I'm not sure what that is. What if you don't have a buyer but want to tour homes for market research? You can go look at anything you need, Joy. You're fine. If you're not working with someone, you're fine. If you're doing a tour ahead of time for a buyer, I would encourage you to err on the side of caution and have that buyer sign a BRA because you are touring for them in advance. We'll just say that, especially if you're doing it digitally. Builder sales rep, ask me for my buyer's rep agreement. Uh-oh. Builders reps know better than that. All of our agreements are confidential. Only if your client said you could show it, could you show it? So that would be your only solution. May I? Yes. If they say no, that's between us, then you can't. And maybe those agents aren't familiar with our agreement to keep people's information confidential. Okay. The forms you need to know is the exact training that you just saw pieces of. So if you want the full thing without all the jumping around, join us in that full-blown class. We're teaching it on Monday via Zoom from 1 to 4. Mary Angie, I see your smiling face. How are we doing on time, friend?
We are doing good. I just wanted to comment that I did put the full calendar of the forms you need to know in the chat. If the class on Monday doesn't work with you, we still have evening classes, we still have Saturday classes. We have opportunity to go to your broker and teach a class for your broker. So we have plenty of opportunities for you to do this 3-hour CE credit class. Today is much shorter. It's just an update to make sure that everybody stays informed. But we truly encourage you to take the forms you need to know class because it goes more in depth. So I put that link in the chat in case you want to see all the other dates available as well.
Yes. So many the same questions. You all are really thinking alike. That's actually very refreshing to see. Just in case you didn't catch this screen, lots of you keep asking, what if other people want to see my contracts? They can't unless your client gave you written permission to share the buyer's rep agreement or the listing agreement. That must be kept confidential between you. So if you're one of those folks asking, please be prepared for someone to say no. Still moving down. Let me see. Someone asked about specifics going into special provisions. If your listing agent is saying, I have some, um, I want to pay based on a schedule. If anybody offered at asking or above, I'll pay this, things like that. Yes, you could place that in the special provisions clause. Now, let me just back up the train, friends. TREC Rule 537.11 says that we cannot write things into special provisions if we're going to affect someone's legal rights, legal obligations, or legal remedies. So if we're in fact impacting someone under the law, then you don't write the language. That doesn't mean you can't put anything in there. What 537.11 goes on to say is this: if your client writes the schedule out for you and says, put this in special provisions, voila, go on and put it in there, and please keep the written proof that they told you to. And that is how you stay out of trouble, and that is how you keep from practicing law. Have your client direct you in writing with the specific language. 537 also says you do not get to hint at and suggest the language. They need to write it themselves, or their attorneys should write it. And that will keep us all out of trouble. Let's take one more question, and I think they're going to throw me out at some point. Please, let's see. Oh, we hit the final question. Can you share agreement with lender for fees confirmation? Violet, I'm thinking that that's exactly what the escrow agent is going to do because of the need to produce the CD. So I'm thinking they're going to see it at some point. Diane Campbell, are you saying that my screen went dark or am I visible? I don't know.
I can still see everyone, so.
Okay. Well, and I think we hit almost all of the questions. It says, thank you. Great idea to have a price list ready. Absolutely. And William, there's no form for that, so you will need to do it yourself. What we do want everyone to do is keep it consistent. because you don't want to appear to be doing different things for different people. We want you to stay out of the courts and out there in the streets and in the closing offices instead. Mary Angie, I think that'll get us done for the day, but thank you so much for having me.
Michika, I want to give the opportunity. I know Code of Ethics is coming up, and this Code of Ethics year, and it is very important that everyone is informed with NAR Code of Ethics. Michika is going to share some information with you about Code of Ethics, but I would also like to put the link of the HAR landing page when it comes to the Code of Ethics requirement. You have to do it by December 31st of 2024. So this year, by December 31st, you have to be in compliance with Code of Ethics. And Michika is going to give you a little bit more information about that.
Okay, so I can't see everybody right now, but if you have to take the Code of Ethics, some of you, and I'm just going to say it, some of you may not be looking forward to the class. I know what it's like to sit in there. I got to take it to everybody. But if you don't want to take the class, but you need to, there's an option. Take a look on the screen. See the letters C2, well, the number in letters, C2EX. That stands for Commitment to Excellent. That is an endorsement or certification from the National Association of Realtors. If you go online, sign up to take this class, you're going to be asked to download an app to your cell phone. You actually take this thing on your cell phone at your will whenever your schedule works. They'll save your work and then let you come back to it. Once you are finished with it, you will have earned some free alphabets to put behind your name, a nice certification for your business card, and you will have satisfied your Code of Ethics requirement for the next 3 years. You must go to the NAR website. It's called the Commitment to Excellence Endorsement. And that's about it. That'll get everyone there. So friends, I didn't even introduce myself, but what the heck, we'll do it when we see you in class. Just thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you so much, Michika. We truly appreciate you taking the time for this informative webinar. Again, this is not the entire class. The entire class is 3 hours. It is free to sign up, and we have plenty of space available for you. If you decide that you would like someone in person and you would like to schedule a class with HAR, we have har.com/edu. You go to the website and you can go to remote training when you sign up, and we can have one of our instructors go and visit you broker. Thank you again for being here today. I know this was kind of fast and furious, but we just wanted to give you a little bit more information on what's happening. I know everything is changing by the minute, but we appreciate you being here to educate yourself and your clients to better serve them. We'll see you next month, November 19, when we're going to be talking about the global industry in real estate. We're going to talk all about what includes to be in the global real estate industry. So save the day, November 19. Again, thank you so much, Michika, and thank you everyone for joining today's webinar.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the love. We appreciate it. Someone asked, and there is the list of forms for you in case you weren't sure of them.
Perfect. I'll stay here a little bit just so that everyone has a chance to screenshot that.
There you go. Yeah, we do want to see you in class on Monday. Awesome stuff. Thanks, everybody. We will slow it down on Monday. Thanks again for coming up in here. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Be on the lookout for the recording. We'll send it to you shortly. Bye-bye.